Hey everyone, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Lucinda.
Welcome back to another color class. In today's color class, we are doing a part 2 on our very popular eye color video for best eyeshadows to pair it with.
Yes, and we're going to start with Hazel. We decided that we would add a review of brown, blue, green, and gray toward the end of this video, simply because we've added numbers to our color chart per your request.
Right.
So that if you were at all confused or weren't quite understanding and you fell into the brown, the green, the gray, and the blue category.
Blue-green as well.
Oh, yes. One of the comments that you guys made, and I'm going to say this up front, and I'll probably say it with every color. When I say that this color is a complement to that color, in this context, we're talking about the complement being the pigment base. And a great example is when you have a plum colored eyeshadow that has a red pigment base, but it's grayed out enough so as not to make your eyes look irritated. That red pigment base still makes a green eye pop. So it is the complement to that green eye, when technically the complement to the green would be red.
But we're not going to recommend a red eyeshadow for you.
No, we will never do that. And one thing about, just as a side note, when you're looking at anything, whether it's a plum or like maybe a burnt orange, a burnt, kind of a brownish color, you have to be careful of anything that has a red pigment base, because if you go over the line just a tiny little bit toward red, visible red, then suddenly you look like you have allergies, and it is not a good look for anybody.
So starting off, we're going to be looking at a blue, green, hazel, yellowish eye.
People who have hazel eyes really have multiple color hazel eyes. There's a blue hazel eye. There's a green hazel eye, and there's something that I call amber. And basically all of these are indicative of having a starburst, kind of a golden starburst in the center of your eye, and that gives you a hazel eye. Now, what I'm showing you here on this palette, at number 1, I've got your highlight colors, and you'll see 3 rings. The outer ring is meant as an eye pencil, if you will, or even a deep contour shade. The middle is the shade, and then the center ring is a highlight of that particular family. So you might get a compact that has number 5. You might get all 3 shades in a compact. Cosmetic companies tend to do that. Or number 2, with the outer shade being the deepest and the inner shade being the lightest. Here, I want you to think about, actually, if you pick a number 10, that outer ring is your eyeliner, a beautiful aubergine eyeliner. And you compare these with each other. So, for example, a 10 mixed with a 2, maybe the 10 being the aubergine eyeliner and the 2 being you use the middle shade on your lid, and you can use a number 1 as the highlight under your brow. In other words, these are all designed to be interchangeable and complement the blue hazel eye. If you want your blue hazel eye to look more blue, then choose something from 6, 7, or 8, something in the browner family. If you want your eye to look more green, you can choose a 9, a 10, even a 3. But that's not your best shade. If you want to really have your starburst, the starburst on the inside of your eye, or that golden part of your eye really pop, choose a 4. And for a number 12, if you want the outer edge, the perimeter of your eye to really kind of highlight the entire color of your eye, you can even move into a 12, an 11, or a 12. The number 2 has a red pigment base, so that would be a more green highlighting shade. The number 1 has a brown pigment base. Technically, it's an orange pigment base. So it would make your eye appear more blue. And really, this chart, it shows you what happens with each color. In other words, if you kind of just follow the outer ring to the center ring to the eye, you'll see the resultant, the look it'll give you for your particular eye color.
So a lot of this is based off of the color wheel, and I should probably just insert a color wheel right here really quickly because we all just like to splash that right up on the screen.
We always do, but once again, I want to just absolutely remind you that when we're formulating eyeshadow, and Sara and I did it for a combined 40 years. I've done it for 30, she's done it for 10. When you're combining pigment to create an eyeshadow, the pigments you start with are red, blue, yellow, primary pigments for the most part. And when you're looking at ingredient decks, you'll see Blue Lake. And those are just pure pigment bases. And then they get all mixed together. And so when I say something has a red pigment base, it might lean a little bit more toward red, so that I'm saying that red is the complement of green, but you may not be looking at red in the eyeshadow. It's in the pigment though.
Right. Next, gorgeous green hazel eyes.
One thing that I'll tell you in terms of season, I've noticed that now all of these are nuances and everything is relative. So if you have a blue hazel eye, you are more likely to have a cooler skin tone than if you have a green hazel eye. And when I say cooler, I'm not saying it has to be dead cool. It might be neutral. And when I'm saying that the greener eye, you'll have a warmer skin tone, I'm not saying it'll be dead warm. It might be neutral. But the nuances are so slight that as you're moving, that's why we have a color wheel and not a color bar, when we're doing this science. It might just nuance a little bit more toward the warm or a little bit more toward the cool. But your eye color is relative to your skin tone and quite often your hair color, but not always. The colors here are designed to give you options because you've got a jewel tone eye. You've got a lot going on. If you just want to have your eye pop based on its own color, choose number 10. If you want your eyes to look greener, choose a number 9 and number 8. Those are red pigment base mixtures.
That number 9 as an eyeliner right above the eye, gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Really stand out.
It absolutely would. And the 7 as a lid color, either the darker one or the lighter one. Much of this, whether you use the dark or the light, depends on your own skin tone and how smoky you want to get or how intense you want to get. Right. A good rule of thumb when you're deciding on eye color intensity, and this is a little bit off topic, but I personally like to either play up my eyes or my lips, but not both. And Sara, how do you feel about that?
It's a good general rule, but with any rule, it's made to be broken.
Of course. So. If you want to really play up that golden corona, look at 4 or 5 as a color for your eyeshadow. Now, that's not to say that you can't, again, skip back and forth. In other words, Sara said she loves the number 8, the number 9 as a liner. I think that the number 10 would be beautiful as a liner, and the 11.
Coming from somebody who wears a lot of warmer greens, I'm going to tend to go more towards purple to make my eyes green. So that's what this is doing. That number 9 is really going to emphasize your green eyes.
It is. And if you want to emphasize that golden corona, again, 4 or 5. And number 3 is kind of an interesting thing because it will emphasize the ring around the eye, anything that encompasses the whole eye, and it'll play up the frame of the eye so that the inside of the eye looks lighter and more vivid. And then number 1, your highlighter, primarily. Number 2, maybe a light lid.
That's what I was interested to hear about number 2. I'm really loving number 2. It's different, but it also really brings the eye together. It has a little bit more cooler tone to it. It's really pretty.
You'll notice that I stayed away. There's a real negative kind of connotation around green eyeshadow, blue, pure green, pure blue. They say don't go to the cosmetic counter without me, and that whole premise of that book was never wear blue eyeshadow. And again, rules are made to be broken, but this is designed to emphasize the color of your eye. Now imagine blue eyeshadow in this palette. Where would your harmony be?
Right.
No harmony.
Yeah.
So when Sara says 2 is a little bit unusual, it's unusual because you won't see green eyeshadow out there in the marketplace very often.
Right. It's beautiful though. I love it with this eye color.
It's a soft green. We're making sure that there's a lot of softness to it so that nothing is more intense than your beautiful iris, the color of your iris.
And it's funny because this eye is so soft, but it's also so bold at the same time when it comes to actually looking at the colors and what you see. So,
well, I want you to think about this. When that iris and the one we looked at before, when you're looking at those inside the ring of these colors, it looks like there's a light shining behind it. And that's what you want when you're choosing the colors for your eyeshadow. You want your eyes to, they're the windows to your soul. You want your eyes to look like somebody flipped on a light switch and they are luminous.
You know what? This would be a beautiful colorscape for a painting. Like, wouldn't I just love these colors?
Absolutely, it would. And
beautiful.
You love it because these are in the autumn palette.
I know.
And once again, that's the beauty of color analysis, because you don't have when you've got a beautiful palette that's all kind of together and of a piece and looking like it's all bathed in the same light. You could see this in a landscape, and you could see the rolling hills and the highlights on various things in the landscape, and the shadows are in the family of the 9s and the 8s and the 7s. So color analysis is that. Every season is that. It's of a piece.
So we're creating harmony within your actual eye color this time. Doing things a little different.
Yeah, but that's what we do. We create harmony. Now, you might say to me, well, what if my eyes are this color and I'm a spring? Which is possible, right? You go with the thing that enhances your eye, because there's nothing more beautiful than a vibrant eye. And here's the one case where we're saying you can move outside your palette and work on just enhancing your eye color. We, Sara and I, just to go off topic a little bit, we were working on blush, and the different ways to enhance your skin tone with blush. And we got into the thickness of, how opaque the blush, powder blush would be versus the most transparent color. Here, we don't have to worry about that, because when these colors will primarily be powder colors or pencils, and this is easy peasy. Now, the amber eye. The amber eye looks like a jewel. It looks like amber.
It does. It's so stunning. I have to say, number 3 instantly jumps out. That is a gorgeous shade with that eye color.
Well, and the thing is, people who have amber eyes, they say, oh, my eyes are just brown. Brown eyes are beautiful. Brown eyes are gorgeous if you use the right color to play up that beautiful color. We've got a more monochrome brown eye to show you a little bit later in the video. This happens to be all over the place, from the sort of burnt orange color that's the Corona, and then out to the amber color, and out to a neutral color, almost a gray.
Right.
And that's why you have number 11 in this palette. and number 12, these are very neutral. And if you're looking at them, you're going to be saying, is that a green or a gray? Well, it's a greenish gray. And those colors are to create a background effect so that the colors in your iris come forward. And that's generally what you want to do. You either want to complement your color so that it makes the other color pop, or you want to create a shadow-like effect around the color so that the color pops, so that the shadow-like effect makes the ground or the surround deeper so that the eye color in the iris pops. Number 10 and number 9, they're going to make your amber eye look greener. Number 8, it's just going to make it look a little slightly greener, but it'll still have that amber shade to it. 6 and 7, same thing, only lighter. 6 and 5 are warmer. It will play up the center of the iris.
I was going to say, kind of like it matches that color to really just push out that middle area.
Exactly. And that's what 4, 5, and 6 are, to play up the center part of the iris. And 3, and you got to be very careful with this, but this is going to make the corona, that starburst in the center of the hazel eye. Suddenly people will go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize you had hazel eyes, because it'll play up the dimension or the push-pull from the outer corona, or the outer rim, to that center starburst. You'll see that those of you who have brown eyes have very vivid color options that will play up your eye.
Well, you have a lot of contrast there, so you get to have a lot of contrast
That
in your eyeshadow.
Exactly so. And you are the envy of all of our eye color groups, because you could put on a number 3 liner, the inner color, and look amazing.
There's nothing like a electric blue liner going.
Exactly. Well, or imagine a liner that's number 4, which plays up that center corona of your eye.
Stunning.
Beautiful. And again, with the same principle applies. I love a brown eye that is played up with orchid. I know it sounds antithetical and kind of counterintuitive, but it's really beautiful. And number 1 is your highlight color. You only get 1 highlight color because you've got a whole center ring of colors that you can kind of use as a lighter, a light against a deep color. But oh my goodness, number 12 is kind of the best smoky eye you can ever have. The same is true of 11. 10, that the sort of army green color, really beautiful with a brown eye. And again, you get the blues, nobody else does, because what you're doing is you're able to play up vivid colors, and that's okay. You don't look freakish or clownish because you've got the intensity there to be able to pull them off.
Beautiful green eyes. Ooh, I love it.
Beautiful green eyes. Here we have a case where if you want to play up your green eye, you're looking at 4, 5, and 6.
And that's because
it will pick up. Green eyes tend to have kind of brownish flecks in them or gold flecks in them that are part of what makes a green eye green. And it will pick that up. If you want your green eye to look vivid, crazy green, I mean, just green as grass, look at number 7, number 8, number 9.
Those purple shades will do it.
Yes, because they're red-based. 4, 5, and 6 are orange-based, but there's no blue there to pick up. So not really. And so it'll pick up golden coronas or gold things within
pick
your
up the
iris. Yes. But the 7, 8, and 9 will kind of pull out the green and make the green look like somebody turned a light on. 10, 11, 12, that's kind of a smoky eye. It neutralizes the whole eye area so that the only thing that has any color that's like standing out is your iris. And then you get the 3 and the 2. Notice if you look closely at the color of this particular green eye and look at number 3 and look back and forth and back and forth, do you see the blue in that eye now?
The small little striations.
Yes. And that is why you get that color, because if you've got the striated kind of blue happening in your green, along with the yellow, blue and yellow make green, that will pull that out and make it a little more prominent. Just like I'm sure you didn't notice it until you were looking from the 3 to the iris, the 3 to the iris, 3 to the iris. And then suddenly you see that entire blue rim just inside the outer corner of the eye.
Right.
So many color optical illusions are everywhere. And then number 2, you get to just play up your green eye. And believe it or not, that number 2 will allow create a little bit of a background so that you can see the gold in the eye better.
Yeah.
So again, look from the number 2 back to the iris, number 2 back to the iris. Do it a few times, and what do you see?
That yellow ring in the middle.
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly right. And then, of course, number 1, they're your highlight colors, and, the colors that will give you, under the brow bone, and you can do it on the lid, and that looks very beautiful too. But again, these colors are all of a piece. They look like they belong in the same beautiful landscape. Now we move to kind of a fun eye, and it is the blue-green eye. That is not to be confused with the blue hazel eye, and I'll tell you the difference. The blue-green eye doesn't have the vivid gold striations in it. It tends to go from blue in the center around to kind of a greener grayish color on the outer rim.
And this is a color-changing eye. So wearing blues bring out the blue. If you're wearing a green color on clothing-wise, it'll bring out the green. So,
exactly right. And what I want you to do is that same exercise. So if you want to bring out the center blue, you go with the number 9. You go back and forth and back and forth. And what it'll do is it'll say, okay, forget about that outer rim. Look, the center of this eye is on fire. I mean, I don't mean that literally, obviously, but, you get this intensity, this color intensity of the blue. However, if you want to play up the outer rim of the green eye, Sarah, what color do you go to?
2.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.
That's exactly right. If you want your color, your eye, this blue-green eye to just look so vivid, people can't look away from you, pick 4, pick 5, pick 6. 4 would be, a really intense kind of version of that.
Right.
5, somewhat. 6 is a hybrid between the blue and the green. It's kind of a play up the whole thing. And again, if you want to kind of play around with how these colors relate to each other, look at the color itself, move to the eye. Look at the color itself, move to the eye. Look at the color itself. And what you end up seeing in the iris will be what you're playing up using that particular color.
And don't forget 10, 11, 12 for that blue eye to play up the blue.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. 10, 11, 12. A mocha, there is nothing that plays up a blue eye better than a flat mocha brown. Can't be too red. It can't be too warm. It's like right there in the neutral family. And that is your number one thing that will make that blue in your eye pop. And again, you can see it. Just move back and forth, move back and forth, and it looks like all you can see are those center blue striations.
Right.
11 it adds a little more green into what pops because it's moving a little more toward red. And 12, of course, is your smoky eye that people can't live without. The true blue eye. My son has these eyes. He's a redhead and he's got blue eyes. And I read someplace that is the most unique color combination, red hair, blue eyes. But this is not part of a palette that you would normally see for a quote-unquote redhead. This is part of a palette that you would see for the blue eye. And when I say this, I think you should always dress your eye according to your eye, not your clothing palette. What you see here is a little bit different, but it's still designed to play up the blue eye. Number 4 looks slightly discordant. Why is that? Why do you think, Sarah?
The base, the red base.
Exactly. And it's to make the center part of that blue eye look like somebody just switched a light switch on.
Mm-hmm.
And we leave that in. Normally, everything else is kind of a little bit softer. But if you really want to have that eye just look like zing, that would be a color that you would pick. Number 3 is a little bit, it draws to the green part of the eye, but not a ton. Think of 1, 2, and 3 is more neutrals. They're kind of a softer version to let the color of your eye stand out. 6, 7, and 8 play up any green. Blue eyes are rarely just flat blue. And so what I've tried to do here is give you options to bring out any part of the blue eye. And if you want your eye to like really pop and look as vivid as possible, go with the 4. If you want a more natural color around the eye, go with the 11. The inner ring will really make that blue stand out.
I was going to say 11, that middle shade. If you have blue eyes, you should be getting that middle shade at 11.
As a staple, as a staple. And blue eyes get a blue eyeshadow because sometimes when you use a blue around the eye and you're a blue-eyed person, it will make your eyes look bigger. And 10, again, it shifts just a little toward the red because in this blue eye, the eye shifts a little toward the gray.
Right.
But we can make that gray look more green by going with the 6, 7, 8, and the 10. Now we have the gray eye. I say that my eyes are gray because they're bluish, greenish. They've got a yellow
Grayish.
corona. But kind of when you step back from me like 4 feet, they look gray. And so it's important to have something that gives you a lot of variation in your eye color because it can swing, it can shift in different directions. Now, if you've been with me this whole video, you know what to look at to see what color is going to make what part of your eye color pop.
Right.
So with the number 4, what color is your eye going to be, Sarah?
Green.
Exactly. With the number 11.
Blue.
Exactly. Number 6, it's going to be even greener.
Yep.
And then we've got some...
3, 2, another green color.
And 1 is basically your highlight color, a neutral color. And for those of us who might be a little bit older, it's a good choice in terms of just using kind of something that doesn't play up the outer ring of your eye because then it also plays up crow's feet and under eye circles. I'm not going to stay on that topic very long because it's the bane of my existence. But again, if I were choosing, if you were getting these triple palettes and I was going to do the most important one in your entire eyeshadow wardrobe would be number 4 to really make your gray eyes look blue and really out there. Now, if you just want your gray eyes to be gray and look electric, think 10 and 9. If you want to play up the rim, think 8, which is great to. And when I say play up the rim of your iris, that gives it shapes the iris and makes it look more like it's a jewel tone. 12 is your typical smoky eye. 5, you have the option of doing like a complete kind of gray look. When you do a completely monochromatic gray look without color, that makes your eyes stand out. So you'll get a lift there. It won't necessarily push you in any direction. It won't necessarily push you toward blue or toward green. It'll just make your eyes look illuminated.
So I hope you've enjoyed these new colors we've added, plus doing the review with your recommendations. Thank you so much. We definitely needed your help in the comments. And again, feel free to comment down below how we can make these videos better for next time. So lastly, we are a new YouTube channel. We would love for you to hit the like button and subscribe to come along our color analysis journey with us. I'm Sarah.
I'm Lucinda.
And this has been another color class, and we'll see you in our next video.